So over the past couple of years, I've actually bought several pro cameras for less than $3 a month. This one, less than $3 a month, less than $3 a month. This is actually more like $1 a month. And this Fujifilm is actually appreciating in value. And this is going to be the entire cost, including tax. So I want to show you how you can do this, especially because if you're a photographer or videographer, these aren't just decoration. Like, these are the actual tools that can make you thousands of dollars every time you use them. So if you guys are new here, my name is Dan Watson. I make videos on pretty much every piece of gear you can imagine, especially with some pretty crazy awesome cars. So the best way of really kind of guaranteeing that this works is going to be to buy a camera that other people are buying, because whenever you have something with more demand, that means manufacturers are going to be typically taking longer before those discounts will hit, before they start dropping prices. And that's going to be important because that kind of dictates the shelf life of your camera before you start losing money. Plus, whenever you have like just popular cameras, I find that selling them is going to be so much easier because you have these massive Facebook groups like dedicated to these cameras. People own them and then they'll break their cameras, or they'll want to buy like backups or replacements. And they tend to stay popular for years, even after a camera gets announced, which really generates like this second wave of buyers a few years down the road as new cameras start to go up in price and a lot of people just don't feel the need to upgrade. They can kind of go buy these cameras that have been on the market for a couple of years. And by the way, I am doing a free Q&A in the comments of this video, so ask me anything, whether it's about this video, if it's about a camera, shooting in general, me, I don't care, whatever. I have notifications on for the first week after this goes live, and hopefully I can extend that even a little bit more, but I will do my best to respond to every question possible in the comments. So let's have some fun and ask me anything. So the first step before buying a camera is going to be to do some research. And what we're looking for is going to be either a sale price on a camera that will likely go back off of sale in the next couple of weeks or months, or we're looking for a new camera where there's a chance we probably won't see a price reduction for a long time. And the best way I found to do this is to use a tool. I found this tool on Amazon, or for Amazon, called Camelizer. I think that's what it's called. It's basically a Chrome plugin extension that when you're on an Amazon item, it will show you the price history over time. I'm a massive fan of this because you can never trust what Amazon says is a sale price. There are just so many times where they increase the retail price of what an item typically is and then advertise like the 25% sale on it. So I don't ever trust a price that I see on Amazon. But if you use this tool and you can take a look at the price history over time, you can see exactly where things line up. And what you're going to find out is that pretty consistently, especially with the major brands, there's a good 2 years before a camera starts to see a permanent price reduction. So, for example, one of the most popular cameras over the last 10 years is the Sony a7 III, which was announced in February 2018. It went until Black Friday 2019 before the first sale, so over 18 months. But even then, it was just a really quick sale, and it would come back to full price until late 2023 when we started seeing that it was pretty much always on sale. But that was literally 4 years after the camera launched. Now, right now, the most popular camera on Amazon, according to Amazon, is the Sony ZV-E10. This was announced in 2021. And again, it wasn't until Black Friday 2023, so over 2 years later, that we started seeing those sales become more regular. And then after a couple months of those occasional sales, now it's just pretty much on continuous sale. So here's why that's going to be important. So what we're trying to do is minimize this spread between the price we buy something for and the price we sell something for. Because remember, the true cost of any item is not the purchase price. It's going to be the purchase price minus the sale price. Now, I've had a lot of electronics, especially like TVs, that cost over $1,000 when I bought them, and then 5 years later they break and I end up throwing them away because they're not worth the cost of repair. Now, in that case, like, the true purchase price is the actual cost of that item. But if I buy a $2,000 camera and then I sell it a few years later for $1,500, that camera only cost me $500. And if you follow the next few steps, we're going to make that way less. So there are two problems that we have to deal with. And the first is going to be sales tax. And this is massive on items that cost thousands of dollars. So if you're in the United States, it's usually about 7% in most of the US. So on a $2,000 camera, you're actually going to be paying more like $2,150 when you buy it. So we need to get rid of this number. The other issue that we have is depreciation. So reality is a camera is a depreciating asset. So the minute you try and buy it and use it and sell it, it's going to be worth probably significantly less than the price you paid for it, even if the new prices haven't changed at all. Probably one of the only exceptions to that is these Fujifilm cameras. This is the Mark VI right here. This came out like 9 months ago. It is still pretty much out of stock everywhere. So I could really sell this right now for more than I paid for it. But that is definitely the exception to the rule. So don't count on it. So here is going to be the breakdown of how I actually purchased cameras like these for less than $1 a month. Now, my first YouTube camera, or camera I bought specifically to film YouTube videos, was the Panasonic G7. I actually purchased this camera back in 2016 for $599 with a $100 gift card. So essentially $499. I didn't have to pay tax at the time because anything you purchased online out of state was tax-free, but I still don't pay tax because B&H has this store credit card where literally the entire cost of taxes, they rebate it or refund it to your credit card bill. So you never actually pay for tax. And somehow I checked, the Panasonic G7 is still priced at $499, which is absolutely crazy. I love this camera. It was so far ahead of its time when I bought it, and I bought it a few years after it had been out. And it's still actually ahead of its time compared to a lot of other $500 cameras. So I think that's why it is still essentially the same price as it was 9 years ago. Now, because I was buying this for business, this was also going to be a tax credit, which for me was about $90 in savings on my taxes. Now, obviously, I'm not a CPA, so make sure to check that this applies for your business. But if you're a photographer and videographer, most business purchases like a camera should be tax deductible. So right now, B&H is actually selling a used version of this exact camera for $360. So that to me is going to be a pretty good reference for what the top used price should be. Now, B&H is a reputable, massive store with a large audience. So I'm not going to be able to get that much personally, but I know I need to beat that price in order to sell it. So if I sold it today for $300, which I think is very realistic, this camera would have cost me $200 minus the $90 I saved in taxes, so $110 total. Now, if I divide that by the 106 months I've owned this camera, this has essentially cost me $1.04 per month to own. Now, this is a cheap camera, so I know what you're thinking. Like, can I actually do this on a pro-level $2,000 camera for less than $3? And here's going to be the breakdown for that. So the next camera I purchased as an upgrade to this was the Sony a7 III, which I bought when it came out in April 2018 for the full $19.99 retail price. I didn't have to pay sales tax because I used the B&H credit card. I was able to save another $300 on my taxes because I used that for business. So essentially that brings the total purchase price to $1,700. I then sold that camera in July 2021, so 3 years and 3 months later, for $1,600. So the true cost to me was that purchase price minus what I saved on taxes, which minus what I sold it for, which ended up being $100. And even by that itself, like that's nothing. I bought a $2,000 camera plus tax for less than $100. Owning it for 3 years, that's amazing. And if you take that $100 and break it up over the 39 months I own the camera, the a7 III essentially cost me $2.56 per month to own. And that camera leveled up my business because it was a pro-level camera that really allowed me to take on some pretty big jobs and make a ton of money on it. Now, word of caution, photography and videography. This is not a cheap hobby. This is an expensive hobby or job. If you do it for an income, it is still a very expensive job. I make a lot of videos on gear, and if you bought gear that I recommended, you probably spend way more than $3 a month. In fact, there's a link in the video description to all of my gear so you can see everything that I use. And if you were to buy that, it would get really expensive. Although if you get my preset pack with the auto masking presets, that's definitely going to end up saving you some money over the long time. So I find it's really not cameras and lenses, though, that actually cost me the most, even though technically those are the higher ticket items, like cameras are thousands of dollars, lenses are thousands of dollars. That's not what costs the money. It's the items like accessories, it's computers, it's monitors, it's hard drives, it's filters, it's gimbals, it's lighting and bags. These are the things that end up costing you everything, because nobody wants my scratched up used ND filter and nobody wants my 3-year-old 250 gig hard drives. I have a $10,000 Mac computer, Mac Pro over there, that is now barely worth $2,000 after a few years. So that stuff has almost no resale value. And even if you sell it, you have to spend hours taking photos on it. You have to be making posts, selling it to Facebook Marketplace, dealing with scammers on Facebook Marketplace and eBay. Another option for trying to get a camera even cheaper is to watch for a camera to go on sale and then go try and find somebody selling it used. You'll take a little bit of a risk on a used camera, but make sure that they know the camera is on sale. Make sure you buy it well below that sale price because you're buying it used. But if they want to get rid of it, they'll do it. I've sold or bought cameras several times where I was actually able to buy the camera, own it for 2 to 3 years, and then sell it for the same price I bought it for. Again, the key lesson here is just keeping that spread of purchase price and sale price as close as we can, and then combine it with any tax savings that we can get on sales tax and business tax or any other discounts that we can find. Or you can just watch some of my YouTube videos and I'll tell you the best cameras that you can buy right now. And my latest recommendations for 2025 are on the way. So follow me over on IG. I have tons of BTS on Instagram, and I'll see you guys in the next one.